Hey, this is going to be a really exciting show. If you wanted to determine whether or not, your nutrition program is the right nutrition program for you,
Uh-oh, you're
um,
frozen.
your wellness program overall is the right wellness program for you, and it's serving you, then you're going to be really excited to listen to Amy Lang. She has her podcast, she's the host of the Happy and Healthy with Amy podcast. She's the founder of the Moxie Club. She coaches women in STEM on how to achieve lasting weight loss. She's created, with the intent of deep health. So it's not like that surface health that a lot of people do, but it's deeper because she digs underneath the surface to help you uncover things that may be holding you back. Prior to starting the Moxie Club, Amy worked with thousands of clients over 15 years as the owner of the Specific Heights Health Club in San Francisco. Amy, you're still in San Francisco, right?
I'm in the Bay Area. Yeah,
Okay, still in the
yeah.
Bay Area. She loves sharing her work with others, and she's passionate about helping people to go from being yo-yo dieters to people that have a really kind of intuitive way of eating, and help them to manage and help us all. Well, we all need this help managing our internal thoughts and the self-talk that we do to ourselves. And some of that self-talk is not empowering. And being able to know when it's not empowering or not, Amy can help you with that. So without further ado, I want to welcome Amy Lang. And Amy, thanks again for being here. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited for today's episode, this interview. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you for that. I'm excited about it too because I know people listening are going to get a lot out of it because you've spent a lot of time working with people. So you understand some of the ins and outs that go deeper than surface weight loss. So your Instagram handle is Habit Whisperer. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
So, how did you come up with that Instagram name?
Well, in working with so many clients who had that, they've gotten the message that to lose weight, they're supposed to look for a diet, look for the best diet, look for the best weight loss program. And they end up using a two-step strategy of first I want to lose the weight and then I'll figure out how to keep it off. And what I saw was that so many times what they were doing to lose the weight was unsustainable. So they put their life on hold, if you will. And when they finally lost the weight, then they went back to whatever life that they had put on hold.
Got you. Amy, can you
And
give me an example of something that's been um, difficult for people to continue after they've done it to lose the weight? Like,
yeah.
uh,
So if you try to avoid carbs as an example, you tell
okay,
yourself, I love pasta, but I can't have pasta if I want to lose weight. The ketogenic diet is very popular these days.
oh
It's
yeah,
it's like South Beach revisited. And what I found was if you keep telling yourself, I love pasta, but I can't have it, at some point when you've lost the weight, what's the first thing you want to have? Is
pasta.
pasta. And so that sort of restriction in your brain, you create this state of psychological scarcity. So if there's anything that I could share with people in terms of their health and wellness journey, including weight loss, would be that you really want to be coming at it from a state of abundance. You want to shift from a state of scarcity to one of abundance. So if you're thinking all or nothing, as an example, like I have to be on this diet and then I'm off the diet. It's right. I fell off the wagon, whatever you want to call it. Um, I would say an abundance mindset would be, well, everything's on a continuum. So today, maybe I didn't have a salad. I can get a little bit more in tomorrow. Right? Give yourself some grace there, as opposed to beating
Beautiful.
yourself up.
Mm-hmm.
To your point. So, habit whisperer came from this idea of that instead of using this flawed two-step process of first I'm going to lose the weight and then I'm going to figure out how to keep it off, and then you never do the second part. Habits are about think about like the kind of person you want to be. If you want to be like a healthy eater, a healthy person, what would that person be doing? What kind of habits would they have? And then how do we start getting those in place today? Like, what can we start doing today? And really coming from this place of I want to take care of myself, that I'm worth taking care of, which that's a whole nother topic, right? To talk about the relationship we have with ourselves in terms of, am I worth taking care of? Or am I only going to be able to feel good about myself when I get to that goal weight, if you will? Because if that's the thought process, that's what keeps us sort of attached.
Oops, sorry
Bless you.
about that. I have a little bit of a cold. My apologies.
No worries. Bless you. So that keeps us sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Where you're still lured, you're still tempted by the diet because you have that underlying belief, a core belief in some ways, where like I'm not good enough until I've lost the weight, as opposed to, well, here's where I am today, and you can start with just acceptance, like I love myself, and I'm worth taking care of. I deserve to feel better. And if I do these things, let's say I go for a walk and I get outside and I feel a little better. Well, I've taken care of my body, and the body is wonderful. It will respond in kind, right? If we drink enough water. So I always tell people like there's the fundamental 5 habits. So to avoid that state of scarcity, we've got physiological states of scarcity and we've got psychological states of scarcity. So if I tell you you can't do something, through the pandemic we had that happening constantly. You have to wear a mask. You can't do this. You have to, right? All of those things became these rules. I shouldn't, all this stuff. We create scarcity in that. The physiological scarcity comes from when we actually restrict things that our body actually needs. If we're not getting enough sleep, like what percentage of the population is getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep? Probably not enough. Not enough.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to look at like the rate of obesity and the rate at which people started getting less and less sleep, I think there'd probably be at least correlation. You would see correlation. I don't know
Yeah,
if we
I
can go
think
so
you're right.
far.
I think they're parallel. I think they increase, and even in a parallel way. I think, definitely correlation though.
Yeah. So people will say, I'm making a distinction between correlation and causation, right? Where we
Mm.
see that trend line. But if you were to look at the science behind sleep, you would actually see that, in fact, we are messing with our hormone levels. So, like, ghrelin is the hormone that the hunger hormone, right? Think
Mm-hmm.
ghrelin, think like my stomach is growling. Okay. So, when you don't get enough sleep, guess what? Your ghrelin levels, that hunger hormone is elevated. And the satiety hormone, leptin, which is the one that tells you, yeah, I'm satisfied, I'm full, I'm good, right? That level is actually lower than where it would be if you got like a solid good 8 hours of sleep. And so if you're chronically sleep deprived, then you're making it harder to eat healthy because your body's like, oh, I'm hungry. I need carbs. I need salt. I need sugar, right? Whatever it is, I need that quick energy fix. So a lot of times, when I look at what a client is doing, we'll look at like the fundamental 5 that I talk about, and I'll be like, where would you like to start? And so oftentimes it's sleep. It's like, oh, instead of worrying about not doing something, I get to focus on doing more of something.
And I hate to ask this, but what is your fundamental 5?
Oh, I set you up for that, right?
Uh-huh. Yes, you
So,
did.
yeah. So the fundamental five are everyone knows to drink enough water. So I usually say half your body weight in ounces of water. So if you weigh 200 pounds, we're talking about 100 ounces. So if you want to divide that by 8, you'd figure out how many glasses that is. As opposed to people say, drink 8 glasses of water. And I'm like, well, if you're 5 foot tall and you weigh 120 pounds, or you're 6 foot tall and you weigh 250 pounds, does it make sense that you would need the same amount of water? It doesn't make
Absolutely
sense to me,
not.
right? So that's how come I like that ratio. Um, so half your body weight in ounces of water. I say 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, with a ratio of like veggies to 2 fruit. And I want like all the colors of the rainbow. Get some green leafy ones in there. It's not to say I don't think protein and fat are important, because yeah, and you can get some protein with the plant stuff too. But I think, at least for the US population, when I look at like the women that I work with, the chronic dieters who struggle, oftentimes it's the nutrients that their bodies are craving from the fruits and vegetables that they're not getting.
Gotcha.
So I want to work on that. 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep,
Mm-hmm.
30 minutes of mindful movement. So I say mindful movement as opposed to exercise, because I think, just like food, like so many people who've been struggling to lose weight, if you associate exercise with the only reason I'm exercising is because I need to lose weight, as opposed to movement is beneficial for my body. It helps with brain health. It helps with my body's health. It helps with, we talk about type 2 diabetes a lot of times when it comes to the being overweight, and it will help with your insulin resistance, right? Or insulin sensitivity, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one is to eat when you're hungry and stop when you're comfortably full. And it's the stopping when you're comfortably full that's really about learning how to tune in to your body again, to trust it, to let you know, like, I've had enough. And in a world of abundance, right, you can go to the grocery store and buy all kinds of stuff. Telling yourself you can't have something is very different from telling yourself, I've had enough.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Isn't that? So thank you for sharing that.
You're
Um,
welcome. Thank you for letting me share.
yeah, I mean, they're powerful insights, and it's really great to give people permission, and it's a softer way to have someone change their habits. It doesn't feel like you force it on them. It doesn't feel like it's a push or pressure. It feels like you gently guide them. So now I know where the habit whisperer comes from. So you're not shouting and screaming. You are gently giving them information and allowing them to take the time to digest it and use it the way they intuitively feel it needs to be used, if I hear you correctly.
It's definitely a process. It's definitely one of those where I think so many times I've run into people who have that all or nothing approach. And I'm like, how do we make this easy? How can we make this easy so that it's inevitable, so that the results you're looking for are inevitable? And guess what? Along the way, those results you're looking for may change as well as you learn more about yourself, as you gain insight, as you kind of go, oh, I've been doing this all this time and it got me to where I am now, but where I want to go, maybe this isn't the way I'm going to get there.
Yeah.
This method doesn't work anymore. So I'm referring a lot to like when we beat ourselves up, right? Like we
Okay.
say, like, I have to do it this way. Um, I'm really intolerant of anything that's not what I think of as perfect. And if we look at it that way, a lot of times it stops us from even trying. And I think giving ourselves permission to experiment, figure out what works for us, is sort of the key to then getting habits to stick.
Nice. So when you do the initial assessment of clients,
Mm-hmm.
um, do you cover anything where you're getting them to explore their internal thoughts, like that self talk that they're having? with themselves? Do you, how do
Yeah.
you help them explore that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure from all the consultations you've done, you've probably done like the five whys exercise. Like, why do you want to lose weight? That so I do the same thing. Uh, 5 levels deep. Sometimes I go 7 levels deep. I'm ultimately trying to get to like what what are your values? What are your priorities? What is the purpose of this weight loss? And I really want to try to get folks to look at their goals in a bigger context. So when you see it in context, does it align with your values? And oftentimes, if someone says, I want to lose weight, okay, the first time I heard this, it nearly broke my heart. I had a client I asked, why do you want to lose weight? And she said, because I'm disgusted with my body. That, I, it wasn't the only time I heard that, but I remember the first time I heard that. And I thought, wow, this is the conversation that she's having with herself when she looks in the mirror. You know, and I'm like, well, would you ever say that to your best friend? Would like so this we talk about relationship with self. Like, how do you learn how to be your own best friend, your advocate, your supporter, your cheerleader? I can be there, but there's an internal voice that's more powerful. And so how do we shift it there, right? And so I asked her, okay, well, can you think of another way to frame it that would be, instead of what you don't want, think about what you do want? So, like, why? And so she was able to at least get to, like, well, I want to lose weight so that and gain some muscle so that I'm toned and I have the endurance and the stamina to be able to do things that I want to do. Okay, that's more hopeful. There's like an energy pickup there. Um, and so I'm like, and why is that important to you? Right. And so I kept asking why in slightly different ways to understand, like, how does this fit into her life, in the context of her life. And ultimately it became like, I've been sitting on the sidelines. I want to spend time with friends and family, and when I don't feel good about how my body looks, I isolate. I don't want to be seen, kind of thing. And so I'm like, well, do your friends care? Right? We did a little bit of unpacking. I'd say, yeah, in the initial consultations, especially with moms that I work with, 50% of the time, like when I did them more in person, these days I'm online more often than not. But in person, I would ask, like, why is this important to you? And I would get that long pause, and then you could see the emotion welling up. And I'm like, where's the Kleenex box? Because for so long, the moms had been putting their own needs on the back burner. And so it really was, you have permission to take care of yourself and think about what's important to you. And so for folks that are listening, like, that, if you're a mom and you catch yourself in that, self-care is not selfish. Like, understanding what your wants and needs are is really important.
And it's great to have a wellness professional like you to help them unpack these things, because what I find as well, when I have the opportunity to talk to moms, guys too,
Yeah.
when we really drill down into some of the negative self-talk that's happening, we get to explore kind of why and where it's from. And as we start that exploration, we start touching things that they never had permission or a safe place to really talk about. And it turns out that, you know, having a safe place to actually talk about some of this stuff is lacking in a lot of people's lives. And it's funny that fitness and wellness professionals are surrogate therapists. frequently. Um, and I guess I do what I do now as a wellness coach because I realized that when people were coming to me as a fitness coach, they were much more interested and we got much better results when I gave them the opportunity to unpack some stuff they needed to unpack. When they did that, oh, then the exercise was nothing. But they'd rather have that time with me unpacking things that would help them to do better with their habits after that appointment than us working out for 20 minutes and them being in the same place that they were when it comes to their habits after they left.
Mm-hmm.
So the great thing about giving them the space to really get stuff out that they have not had the opportunity to do in any other environment is just I think it's a calling. And I think as I've gotten older with my practice, I realize, wow, how helpful this is for people. And uh and I think as wellness professionals, we need to be trained more and better at actually being present for people and giving them the space to safely say things that it's important for them and that they need to say.
Yeah. Well, I think from a coaching standpoint, I come at it and I was taught to come at it more from a place of non judgment,
Oh yeah.
right? Non judgment, where my client is the expert on their life.
Oh yeah.
Ultimately, it's their goal. It's not what I want for them. All I want for them is at some level like to be able to help them. Can I connect with you in a way to help you see what I'm able to see? And but it's not about me imposing. Like I had actually worked with trainers in the past who were like, okay, so now that you did this, let's do work on this. And I'm going, how about like how about asking me what I want to work on next, right? There was a little bit of that going on. Um, and there are still definitely, I do run into some fitness professionals that like when we talk about diet culture, where there's still like a certain amount of body shaming going on. It's even like the expression clean eating is could be really good or could be a sign of diet culture kind of creeping in, where if clean eating means like this is when I'm being good and I'm looking forward to my cheat days, to me that's a sign like, okay, we're kind of in that scarcity mindset thing kicking in. And I'm just to be aware of it, like I'll point it out. I'm like, what does that actually mean when you say cheat day? Because are you doing something bad? Like, are you doing something wrong? Right? Cheating is inherently we think of as wrong. So, just even the language to be careful. To be careful. I'm not, it's not a trigger word for everyone. Things like should and cheat and whatever, but it can be. It can be. So I'm always like, what does that actually mean?
So
What are you making it mean about you?
I love, Amy, how you really pay attention to the verbiage that you share. What was your training to, because this is really uh be, being this mindful of language and how you're presenting this information for people. Most people need training to get here,
Yeah.
specific training.
Yeah.
So what was your training to help you to get here?
It's a long and winding road. So, I have my bachelor's in psychology from University of Michigan, uh, and I have an MBA as well. So it's in strategic management. So I learned from Dr. Deming. So he has a whole sort of management philosophy there, very humanistic. And um, I was the owner of a health club, Pacific Heights Health Club, for 15 plus years. During that time, I became a certified personal trainer. that didn't really get the language you're talking about. I went through Precision Nutrition's nutrition coaching program. That really didn't get there. Um, I went through their master health coaching program. That that definitely covered some of it. Um, I went through intuitive eating counselor, the intuitive eating program. I would not say that I'm an intuitive eating counselor though, because um, ethically, like they do not believe that intentional weight loss programs work, right? And so I think there's a lot of good stuff with intuitive eating as a self-care framework for eating. I think there's a lot of goodness. But if we talk about deep health, so I didn't define deep health. I think people, like you said, like the superficial, the shallow health, that to me is in appearance. That's when we're focused on what we see. What I ran into over and over again, and it's my own story too, is are you trying to lose weight at the expense of your mental and emotional health? And if that's the case, that's not deep health, that's shallow health. I want you to get deep health. I want you to feel good from the inside out. And so it's about losing weight. And by the way, you're getting your mental health is improving, your emotional, your well-being is all moving. They're all moving in the same direction. And what you're choosing to do, what you want to do, looks different because you're coming from a different place. So I struggle like when people are like, doctors tell you you need to lose weight, right? And eat more vegetables and exercise more. I'm like,
Mm.
we need some coaching. We just need some coaching. It's with the best of intentions. Yeah.
Nice. And I really appreciate it. Now, I know you've been working on a book.
Yeah.
Can you, or have you completed that? Is it available yet?
Yes. Yeah.
Uh,
Well, so go ahead.
no, that was my question. Did you complete it and is it available? Where can I get it? And where can the listeners get this book?
So it's called Thoughts Are Habits 2. Master your triggers, free yourself from diet culture, and rediscover joyful eating.
Now, that's a
And
title.
that's a long title. So Thoughts Are Habits 2. And right now we're going through the final stages with Amazon and all the other publishers or whatever distribution channels. So you can get an excerpt of the book by going
Okay.
to thoughtsarehabits2.com.
Okay. Did we put that in the show notes already so that people, if they are hearing it and they might have not have got that right, can find it? We did add it to the show notes.
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah, so chapter 1 is available. You'll get like the table of contents and stuff too. And if you download the excerpt, then I'm asking for your email address. It
Oh,
means
perfect.
that
Okay.
when the book is actually available, you'll be like the first to know as
Oh,
well.
that's fantastic. Amy, I can't tell you how excited I am that we've had the opportunity to have this conversation. Uh, it's been a really big help to me personally, someone that's actually in the business. And I can imagine the listeners are loving this. So you touched on so many things about really getting to the root of challenges and not looking at weight loss as a surface kind of thing. Really go deep to, some of the root causes and have a better understanding of it. I think once you understand it from that level, from that deep level, I love deep health because once you understand it from a deep level, I think you just do better. And I do think it becomes more intuitive. Um, uh, because now you're just living and you're living your best life. And weight loss is just going to be part of that journey.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Yeah.
becomes a byproduct.
Yeah. Thank you. A byproduct of that journey. Is there something that we really should say that we missed?
Mm. I think you covered pretty much everything.
I think you
I mean,
covered
we
pretty
could,
much.
we
I
could,
mean,
I
I'm
mean,
impressed.
we could actually just, there's, all the different topics that I touched on. Like we could do like separate episodes just on
On each of
so
those
many different,
topics.
yeah, yeah.
So I definitely want people to reach out to you because I think a lot of people are going to be really excited to get that first chapter of your book and realize that, you know what, it's going to be a really great read and a really helpful material to move your life forward. And like we were mentioning before, we're all on a health continuum together. And one side we'll say is quote unquote optimum health, whatever that is. And the other side, I think I call it death. Um, but I call it very poor health
Mm,
or, and I think we're on this continuum and we kind of decide each day where we are on that continuum. And I think it moves, when, we could lose a parent and choose not to exercise and not to eat or during that time or eat not as well because of the emotions that we're dealing with at this stage. But knowing where you are, I think, is a part of the learning of that self acceptance. And, I just think that stuff is so important. Just being able to accept yourself right where you are in any given moment and in any given time and know that there's always hope to go somewhere different on the continuum.
yeah, yeah. Actually, there is one thing that
Okay.
I would like to share. When I talked about rediscover joyful eating, I didn't actually go into that, what joyful eating is. And it is actually built on four pillars: love, which you just touched on, nourish, which we talk about the habits as nourishing. Relationships are nourishing as well, right? There's a lot to nourish. Gratitude and trust. So when you take action from those places and you have practices that feed each one of those, and that's what I have inside my program, Joyful Eating Circles,
Oh,
right,
beautiful.
is that. So we always start with the fundamental five and we kind of layer things in with that.
Well, I'm looking forward to reading it.
Oh,
And
thank you.
thank you
Th-
so much, Amy, for being here and sharing this information. I mean, it's great. So I'm going to get a lot of messages I know about it. Have Amy back. Uh, so,
I would love to come back. Thank you
but
very
Amy,
much
you
for
have your
having me.
podcast. So you dig into this stuff regularly on your podcast, I'm
Yeah,
sure. So, Amy, can you give everyone your podcast name
sure.
one more
It's
time?
Happy and Healthy with Amy Lang.
Okay, there we go. And Amy, again, thank you. And thank you for listening to another episode of Find Your Fitness. Nope, wrong podcast. Thank you for listening to another episode of Your Health Moment. We're really happy to have had you here. And be sure to text me if there's something that you found really compelling or there's a topic that you'd like to dive into a little bit more. Don't hesitate to reach out, okay? Have a great day. God bless. And now we just let it sit.